Happy Wednesday. I am so excited. I've been looking forward for a whole month to this session and to welcome back our amazing TXC&CP alumnus, Victor. And also, he just finished an internship with us as well, and he just has a lot of knowledge and firsthand experience to share with you guys. So without further ado, Victor, welcome back.
Yes, hello everyone. Thank you for guys attending for this event. I am so excited to explain you this opportunity of the Terry Scholarship Foundation. This is an opportunity that I was given when I first started as a freshman. And I'll be honest, this is a great opportunity that I want to share for all tops, or not tops, but actually all of Texas career and what was the whole acronym? But
Texas Career and College Prep.
college prep. Yes, I'm so excited. But yeah, I feel like this would be a great opportunity for anyone who's interested in looking for scholarships, especially if you're a junior or a senior. This scholarship is very, I like to say very underground because people don't know it too much. But I feel like once you do know it, you can prepare and possibly get this scholarship. So, um, other than that, let's get started. So let's learn a little bit more about what is the Terry Foundation. So these are some three fun facts about the Terry Foundation. They're the largest private scholarship provider in the state of Texas. Two, it was founded by Howard and Nancy Terry to help young Texans achieve their dreams of higher education. And three, it provides a full ride, last dollar scholarship to outstanding students. So this scholarship is really great for any overachievers or anybody who knows what they want to do prior to college. I feel like if you know yourself before, you're able to give yourself a good pitch to the interviewee just so that you know how to set yourself for success. Also, this scholarship is the largest and privated in the state of Texas. And as we go more into the slide, we get to explore that this foundation isn't just a huge foundation of like all the Texas schools. It's actually each Terry Foundation has their own within each university. So you get a lot of opportunities to apply, not just to one application, but to multiple universities, depending on which university you want to go to. So that's technically what I actually did. I applied for UNT, UTSA, and I believe Texas A&M. But yeah, they all have their own application form, so you can kind of prepare yourself on which one university you want to go to and look if they have the Terry Scholarship Foundation through them. On to the next slide. And this is what it takes to be a Terry. We have these four pillars, and each pillar really highlights what student they're looking for, especially if you want to be a candidate for the Terry Scholar. One is the scholarship requirement. It is a strong academic service record and commitment to learning, having a high GPA and doing a lot of extracurriculars. Also service, which is have a history of making positive impact in your school and your community, helping by serving your community. Leadership, that is really important. We love to hear about leadership positions, especially for high school students. If they're passionate about something and if they're a leader for that passion, that makes you a really great Terry Scholar candidate. It's a desire to be part of a supportive network with fellow scholars, finding an opportunity that works best for you. And lastly, community. When it comes to community, if you are able to help multiple communities, the Terry loves that because we have a dedication to help others and to giving back. Giving back is one of the biggest things for the Terry Foundation because a lot of alumni from the Terrys have generously donated money back into the Terry Foundation so that new Terry scholars can be picked for the next upcoming years. Next slide. And let's learn about a little bit about scholarships. Why do you want to apply for a scholarship? Is it really important? Short answer, yes. The long answer, let me break it down. So scholarships lighten the load, fuel ambition, unlock futures beyond finance. It helps build you confidence and open new doors for new opportunities. And there's a little bit of a data that I found which kind of breaks down on what it helps for. Like what scholarships, what's the impact? 40% obviously helps with tuition, especially if you're doing a full ride. That essentially covers 100% of it in my case, which if you are picked as a Terry, it is the same for you. 20% of it helps you find broader opportunities. Whenever you're a part of the Terry Foundation, you're a part of a huge network of all the Terry alumni who were previously picked, and you get a lot of opportunities to get a mentor and also get exclusive opportunities from companies to reach out to you, knowing that you're an alumni with the Terry Foundation. 30% of it is academic motivation. Of course, when you get a scholarship, you want to be a good player for yourself and your GPA. So, um, for the Terry Foundation, it's minimum to have a GPA of 2.75. That's like roughly a C. So, it's not too rigorous when it comes to requirements, but we always advocate for high GPA just because we want Terry students to be excelled with their classes as well as their GPA. And then 10% of it is mental well-being. Whenever you're getting a full ride, you get a lot of stress taken away from you. I kid you not. I still think it's kind of crazy to think that each semester I don't pay anything. It's honestly, it's true. And I'd be looking at my tuition fees and it's totaling up to 40,000 a year. No, per semester actually. It's per semester. And it's actually insane to me to think that someone who hasn't gotten that opportunity would have to pay that amount of money. So the Terry Foundation scholarship has a huge impact. This is just a generalized scholarship impact, but I believe that the Terry Foundation is one of the biggest scholarships you can get as a Texan. Next slide. And let's see who gets the scholarships. So this is a little bit of more of a get to see a visual of what are the chances of you getting a scholarship. So it's obvious that when you're in high school, you get so much more scholarship opportunities because they're looking for upcoming freshmen, people who are just graduated school. And a lot of the scholarship requires you to either submit an ACT or anything that's regarding to extracurriculars, leadership opportunities or leadership organizations, as well as any competitions that you competed in, like CTSOs, or even with other things such as internships that you got when you're in high school, or basically you just have to highlight yourself, spotlight yourself, and I feel like this is the only good time for you guys to brag about yourself. Talk about your achievements, talk about what you're positive about, passionate about, everything, your goals in life. Because as a high school student, that's your best chance to get a scholarship. Throughout your throughout your high school or like college and graduate school, it's less likely for you to actually get a scholarship just because a lot of the scholarships is within the university that you're currently attending to. And that's primarily based on high GPA or depending on which major or minor you're pursuing in. So it really just depends. I have some of my friends who gotten scholarships while they were in UNT because they had a good GPA and they were a returning business major. So it really just depends on which university you're attending to because sometimes you can get more internal scholarships within them, but it just really depends. But other than that, next slide. And let's talk about the application checklist. So, when it came to my process, it's important to have your academic transcript, your letters of recommendations, service and community work, and proof of achievements. So, let me break it down a little bit more. So, having an academic transcript, it's really important to have a really good percentile. So if you're wanting to have free education post graduation, I highly recommend you to really try hard in your classes because having a transcript saying that you're top 10%, top 5%, or even valedictorian really emphasize your determination on pursuing post-secondary education. A lot of the times, I even had some Terry alumni who weren't even part of the top 10%. Maybe they were maybe like bottom 20 actually. But the truth is that having a high excelling transcript really highlights your determination and your efforts on pursuing education long term. Letters of recommendations. Talk to a teacher, talk to a professor if you're doing dual credit classes. anybody essentially. I don't really recommend parents because I feel like that's kind of, a little finicky. But I really recommend you talking to a teacher who you get along with, or if so, try to talk to a teacher because I assure you that each teacher is willing to help you and want you to succeed after high school. And back then, I tell my counselor to write me a letter of recommendation just because me and her always had those one-on-one meetings on what classes I want to take for next semester and the following semester. Especially for me, with my background, I remember being a top student and always changing my career pathways. And that's just because I really enjoyed doing different pathways because I could never settle. I just wanted to see how many pathways I can do. And also community work and service work. If you're doing volunteer work, I really recommend you grabbing a document and really writing every work that you've done voluntary because I really emphasize your efforts to helping out your community and also your leadership skills. A lot of the times, if you don't find any community work, I remember when I was in high school, I wasn't able to do in-person volunteer work, but there's a lot of opportunities online that you can do for volunteer work. I was an English tutor for Indonesian and Ukraine students. And to be honest, I did that for a whole year. So anything could be possible if you really have strong determination, as well as if you want to, you can also be like a tutor for math, English, anything, because there's a lot of programs where you can join as a tutor and do it for free. And of course, people don't like the idea of, oh, but I'm not getting paid. I'm not. But the thing is that when you're having this type of work behind yourself, it really acts like a pillar or support for future education because a lot of people love to see that you're helping your community and that you're providing service for the community. And lastly, proof of achievements. I think this is just another way of saying bragging. It's really important to just say which certifications you have, what recognitions you gotten, and also rewards. I want to emphasize that this is a good time to kind of share your leadership skills, what organizations that you were able to participate in, as well as anything that you want to emphasize. A lot of my friends who were art majors, they had their portfolio and they submitted their work because that considered their work considered an achievement for them, because they're very passionate with art and they knew that they want to pursue art post-secondary. So of course they use that as a proof of achievement, and that helped because they emphasized that they wanted to do art in the long run. And lastly, I don't know if you guys can do the QR code for this, but for the recording, you guys can take a picture of this, and this will help learn more on the requirements of each university. Because, like I mentioned, the Terry Foundation application is individual to each university. So you can apply to multiple Terry scholarship applications, not just one. Don't apply to just, I don't know, UNT scholarship portal. You can apply to actually so many. You can apply to UTSA. I believe that they have up to 13 universities, public state universities that you can apply to. So I feel like this is a great opportunity just because I know that online students, they're all around Texas. So if you are want to stay close to your family, I really recommend you looking into these universities because they have universities all from the north, west, east, south part of Texas. They're all the universities throughout Texas. So it's a really good opportunity. Next slide. And let's talk about the scholarship journey. So let's break it down. In my opinion, this journey was not for me because I did everything maybe all in 1 month. I think when it came to letter of recommendation, though, I had that done maybe like 2 months ahead of my application, just because I was finding the people to reach out to, people who were willing to write me a letter of recommendation. And yeah, so let me break it down on what could possibly look like for your journey. So your first month, you can research scholarship, find your niche, and understand your eligibility. So the best way to break down a scholarship is to break down on what is the core principles or your core goals in life. If you want to study to be a nurse, look into nursing scholarships. If you're first generation, look for first generation scholarships. The more you find into your niche, the more opportunities you can find relating to scholarships you can apply for. And as while I was researching, I knew that I was a Texas resident, obviously, I was raised in Texas. So I was like, let me look for Texas scholarship. And the first thing that popped up was the Terry Scholarship Foundation. And obviously it's a little bit competitive just because I give you a little inside scoop of what is the percentage of you being approved. I believe, if I remember, we had about 3,000 applicants for the UNT portal. So 3,000 students applied, and out of those, only 20 were selected. So that can give you an idea of how competitive it can truly be. And if you have any questions about the interview, can go to the next slide, but let me continue with this slide real quick. Next thing, the second month is preparing documentation. So make sure you have your letter of recommendation, have a sheet of your goals and accomplishments. That's actually what I had actually. Whenever it came to submitting a letter of recommendation request, I typically submit a PDF file of all the achievements and all the things that I've done so that the person who received that request for a letter of recommendation knows what I have already done. Because I don't want to do back and forth emailing on telling, like, emphasizing what I want them to emphasize. They can choose through that PDF of like what they want to highlight about me and what projects they've worked with me to further emphasize that letter of recommendation. And I really recommend you because it helps the person who was writing that letter of recommendation know what you already have done or what you're trying to pursue. Third thing is submitting your application. So ensure that you submit it on time. I know that certain applications already been opened. It's already October, so I really recommend you looking into some of the Terry Foundation scholarships. I know that the UNT one doesn't close until November, so you still have time for UNT. But for the others, you might want to check depending on which university you want to go to. And lastly, your fourth month, interview and results. So this is how this is the last part before you get the final results, the interview. But how can you prepare for the interview? Let's go to the next slide. So this is a little bit more about how I'm gonna give you some advice for your application. Sometimes an application can look really messy, but I'm gonna give you my tips and advice on how I was able to make my application stand out. Highlight your leaderships. It's really important to emphasize that if you're doing community work and if you were leading that community work, highlight that because the Terry Foundation loves when you're focusing on the community. That's one of the pillars. If you're focusing on all the four pillars, you have a high chance of being selected as a Terry recipient. Second thing, show, do not tell. Instead of saying that you're a leader, describe the time that you led a project or a team. This is really important because when you're being interviewed, you're dealt with four interview panelists, people who are alumni from the Terry themselves. So you're getting interviewed by the Terry alumni, and from them, they ask you questions based on your application. So it's important to not only show, but know your application. Be familiar of what you put in your application because they're going to ask you questions regarding your application. They're going to read your essay and they're going to ask you questions with your essay. They're going to look at your letter of recommendation. They're going to ask you questions with your letter of recommendations. They're going to ask questions and it's going to be conversational. Of course, you're going to address formal. Of course, you're going to be professional, but a lot of it is conversational based because they're interested about you. They want to know more about you and don't be nervous whenever it feels very formal because I assure you, when I was interviewed, it felt very casual, and I think I made a couple of jokes here and there. To be honest, I don't remember. And third thing is focus on the four pillars. Like I mentioned, it's important that you have your application reflects on the value of scholarship, leadership, service, and community. Because if you're able to highlight those four things, you have a strong chance on becoming a Terry recipient. And lastly, tell your story. A lot of the times who I met, people who got in the scholarship, I asked them, what was your story? And I assure you, each person had their own story that correlated to their leadership, their their efforts in I guess their willingness to put so much effort into an application. And a lot of it comes from their life, from their story. For me, my story was I was a first generation. I was raised by teen parents, and I knew that my parents never got the chance to pursue post-secondary education. But I was fortunate enough to do that. And I really emphasize that strongly with the people that were there because you never know that the alumni from the Terrys were also first generation too. So for them to know that you're a first generation too, it gives you a more unique opportunity or perspective for them as well. So really practice the common questions and research about the program. It's really important to have a story just because at the end of the day, they want to know more about you, and the best way is to tell a story on why you want to do this. You know, it's really important because a lot of the times people, I don't want to say this, but like people like to hear a sob story sometimes. And I feel like when it comes to that, it's because you're determined to get that opportunity, you know? You put all your hard work and efforts for this opportunity. You don't see it just yet, but whenever you do get the opportunity, it'll be all worth it. And that's how I felt when I first got my application results in and I got the scholarship. When I felt that relief, I remember actually, but I can tell you a little bit more later on. But let's go to the next slide. Because I'm about to talk about myself. So if you don't know who I am, I wasn't a top student not that long ago. I recently graduated in 2024, so it's already been like a year, and I already came back already. How about that? And and I first started online school as a freshman, and I graduated at Tops in 2024. I'm currently pursuing in my accounting degree as well as marketing. I enjoy doing photography and DJing. One advice I give to students is to explore and find opportunities. Don't be afraid to go outside your comfort zone. You never know what you might like. I done DJing as a hobby and I actually started liking it. So it's just something really funny, as well as photography. So it's really important to know what you want to pursue in. Okay. And then I want to go a little bit further about the advice real quick. So as a high school student, I think Miss Inez can even vouch for me that I did so many career pathways. And even Miss Zuniga, she saw me going to so many pathways. And it's just because I was really curious, you know? And that's the best thing to have as a student is curiosity. The idea of continuously wanting to grow and self-progression whenever you're passionate about self-progression, I assure you, whenever you're in the room with four interview panelists, they can see your passion on wanting to learn so much more. They can see your determination. They can see all your efforts. So I assure you, whenever the way I'm talking to you right now with a smile and hand gestures and everything, it's because I care and because I'm passionate about it, you know? It's really important to be curious and, you know, have the willingness to pursue things that you might not think you might not like. And if you don't like it, then find something else. Because the thing is that you might never know what you might pick up and actually like. And that's what I did when I was in high school. So that's why I did it. Next slide. Next thing, let's learn about a little bit more on becoming a Terry Scholar. Because, of course, so far what I've been telling you is the Terry Scholarship Foundation. You get a full ride and you get money, 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 money. It's more than just a scholarship. You're being part of a family and they take care of you while you're in that family because even when you're graduated, you're becoming part of the alumni community. So you can always be proactive and help out within the Terry even after graduation. You'll be part of over 6,000 scholars and alumni. There's mandatory events that you can attend to while you're a Terry scholar, such as the orientation, fall banquet, and spring picnic, which I've all went through. And it was very fun because the fall banquet is fine dining. You know, you're hearing it's very, very luxurious food. I enjoy all the food there, you know. It's like a three-course meal. No, actually four-course meal because they include dessert. It's very nice. I like it. The spring picnic, they all collectively like have all the Terrys depending on like which area. But in this case, since I live in the DFW area, they had all the Terrys from the DFW area. So it's like UNT, TW, UT Dallas, and another university I can't really remember, but they're connected with Terry though. They all have this one big event called the Spring Picnic, and that's when you get the chance to meet other Terrys from different universities, and it's very nice to know because you get the chance to talk to them, see a little bit, learn about more about what the Terry meant for them, and you get to ask them questions of how their interview process was. It's very fun and very casual. And also, we have a strong emphasis on giving back. We love to give back to the communities, especially within the foundation, because it gives us a stronger support system, given access to becoming a future alumni and mentor the new Terrys, as well as that you get so many external resources too. I think in my case, since I was a Terry Scholar, I was automatically accepted to the honors here at the University of North Texas. And that's such a huge thing because if you're an honors student, automatically, at least in my case, I was able to register classes like 4 weeks before anybody else. And that is a huge privilege because when you guys graduate and go to university, trust me, when those classes fill up, they fill up and you got to be on a wait list and it's not fun. It is not fun. It is not fun because you just can't do anything if it gets full. On to the next line. And this is the last thing. So I want to say that the Terry Foundation is a lifelong journey because once, like I said, once you graduate, you're part of the alumni community, and they're always close together. I have alumni already who I'm already connected with, and they have been telling me that they still get in touch with their Terry friends as well, the ones that they went to with university together. And they all say that they all live like, because the Terry Foundation has been going on for almost 40 years. So it's been a long process. It started since like in the 1970s, like it's there now, it's there. So they have a huge alumni portal, a lot of unique opportunities, especially if you're a Terry alumni. And yeah, the Terry Scholarship is an investment to your future, the future of Texas, an opportunity to graduate debt free and become part of a legacy of leaders. So, other than that, I think that's all I have to share. If you guys have any questions or Ines wants to ask some questions about more about how it is for me, I don't mind answering.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man. That was amazing. All the information and just, that hands-on experience that you've had and the tips, just real, just amazing. We are so proud of you. So very proud of you. And we're so happy that you were able to come back and that you had the heart to want to give this information to our students so that they didn't miss out. Totally, wanting to share that is just huge, and we hope that we can do this every single year. We'll definitely be sharing the recording, but yes. So the Q&A is open, but I did open the chat as well since we're a pretty sized group here and see. Um, all right, so we have a question that says, did the panel ask you about your virtual learning experience or any in-depth questions on certifications earned during high school?
Yes, so the panelists did ask me some questions about my online experience. They were asking me, did I felt limited? Did I felt like, a lot of questions that they talked about with online school was very like stereotypical almost like, oh, how did you communicate with people outside of online school where you're staying at home all the time? And a lot of times I think it's important to emphasize, at least for me, the way I emphasize online school was that I was able to get more opportunities than I was able to get in person. And it was true because I wasn't able to attend after school events. I wasn't able to do sports just because of the time commitment. But with online school, you don't have a block schedule. You don't have a time where you're doing this to do that unless you decide for yourself. So I told them that being in online school, I felt more free because I was able to do whatever I want to do. And I was able to show them proof because they saw all the achievements that I was doing throughout high school and throughout my high school journey. And that was able to kind of just emphasize more on like my leadership skills too, because it takes a lot of determination to do all those things alone and not necessarily a support system, because it's really important to know that doing these things outside of school, especially online school, you're doing it a lot on your own. So they see that determination, especially if you're being interviewed, because while I was there, I think I had like my own like I did so many things, and like that's a whole nother question though. But another question about regarding certifications earned during high school. Um, I don't think they really heavily emphasize on the certifications that I've earned while I was in high school. They were really looking for leadership skills. Like I said, one of the four pillars is leadership and community. So if you're able to show that you did that type of work, they really like hearing that because yes, it's good to have credibility, but credibility can only take you so far if you don't do enough support like community work or enough leadership skills to have that credibility, because that skill itself, being a leader, builds that credibility already, if that makes sense. And they like hearing that too because they're more focused on like project that you've done and like lead. And what was the other questions I've seen? I've seen a couple.
Awesome. Yes, I can read them. So it says, does Terry Scholarship Foundation cover everything for college as well?
Uh, okay,
I'm guessing
so
like room
there
and board is what they're
it's
asking.
okay, so for the Terry Scholarship Foundation, they cover costs that is affiliated to any university that they're partnered with. So like I said, I had that QR code. I don't know if Miss Inez can share out that code as a link through the chat, but that link that shows you all the universities that are partnered with the Terry Foundation. And through that, it is full ride scholarship. I don't pay anything. So for tuition, I don't pay for nothing. For housing, you'll be surprised, but I don't even live on campus. I live in a house right now, and I don't even pay for this house because the scholarship pays for the house. So it's actually really nice. And I don't want to tell you how much money I get because I'm not allowed to say it, but it's it's thousands of dollars. Okay, it's a good amount. It's a good amount, and you get it per semester as well. So that's actually more than you need. At least for me, it's more than I need. But yeah. So it is. The Terry Foundation is only it's only through affiliated universities within Texas, and then.
Awesome. That's
Mhm.
great. Okay. I'm going to answer this question real quick. So Madison asked about the recording. The recording will be posted on our YouTube. So you can look for that within a couple hours. Let's see. I have a question. I'm going to college for art. Would I still need this? And would it be helpful if I have the scholarship?
Uh, Yeah, so like I said, I kid you not, in our cohort we had 24 students, and out of those 24, I believe that four of them were art majors. And the best thing about the Terry Foundation is that they don't discriminate on what major you're pursuing in. If they know that you're passionate and you are willing to help out the community through your leadership skills that you previously have shown in the past, they will definitely pick you as a candidate. And like I said, it is kind of competitive, especially if you're applying to like UT Austin, because I know that the Terry Foundation has a UT Austin scholarship application. But like I mentioned, like UT Austin is very competitive already itself. So having the scholarship there too, it's a lot more competition. So I really, at least for my case, I applied for a UNT because I know it was a good school and I knew it wasn't as competitive than UT Austin. And I think that I don't even think I even applied for UT Austin because the application already closed. So I was a little too late. And then yeah, like I said, it's more than just um art majors. It can be for anybody who's pursuing in a major that they're passionate about. And that's the thing. If they see that passion, they're willing to do it.
Awesome, awesome. And then I also, Allison, I put the link in the chat, so you can see what schools they have, and I think it would just depend on what school you go to and if they are a Terry Scholarship
Yeah,
school. Alrighty. Another question is, I read online that the Terry Scholarship is need based. Is this correct?
that is correct. But I assure you, I have met students whose parents make way too much than they need and they still get the scholarship. So of course they prioritize people who do need it, but that doesn't mean that the people who don't need it don't get it because they understand that sometimes if you're in a different class than other people, you might not be eligible for FAFSA. So it's already expensive. Like college itself is expensive already. So it doesn't even matter if you're rich or poor. University is expensive, and the Terry Foundation is able to help support that for you. So that's the best way to explain it, at least for my case. I met people who parents have their own businesses and they make well over 500K, you know? And when I saw that, I was like, then you don't really need this, do you? And then but the thing is that it's open to anybody, and that's the best part about it is that they don't discriminate depending on your status. They don't discriminate. They only look at you as a person of determination and passion. That's the best way to put it. If they see that you're passionate about it and that you've shown that passion through leadership and community work, they are willing to pick you, you know? That's the way I've always viewed it.
Awesome. There's another question. Do you think that some people are able to make a living without the scholarship? So maybe if you have friends or somebody you know that maybe they don't have a full ride scholarship, what do you think their experience has been not having one?
I live in a house with two of my roommates, and two of my roommates don't even have a full ride scholarship. And they pay for UNT through different ways, either through external scholarships or UNT provide them like a scholarship from them. It really just depends, to be honest. I don't want to say that university isn't impossible if you don't get a scholarship. It is possible because I know people who receive FAFSA and they got their tuition fully paid for. The tuition here at UNT is super cheap compared to any other universities that I've researched already. That's why I picked UNT because I knew that I would get like the most money. But like like for me in my case, I knew what I wanted, so I did my research already priorhand. And if you know what you want, it's really important for you to do your own research on which university you want to do because depending on which university you go to, obviously each department, depending on what major you want to pursue, is better than the others, you know? So it's really important.
Awesome, awesome. This is a good question. I haven't had the chance to look into volunteer community work until recently. Is it too late to start? And do you have any tips on finding volunteer work and how I should document?
You know what I really like is that back then we like AI never had fully came out yet. And I was searching through Google just on my own, just like volunteer online opportunities, volunteer. And I I don't know if I actually do know a website. I don't know if you want me to share it, but it's basically this website. It's called volunteermatch.org, and it's basically this this portal of like volunteer work that you can do. It's a nonprofit organization, but it's the best way to look for opportunities relating to online opportunities. So, or virtual opportunities. So that's volunteermatch.org. That's the first time I was exposed to doing online volunteer work. I think that's when I first heard about I can even share out the program that I was in for the English tutor too. It's called Engine as hold on. This is so fun for me. Okay. This I did so much back when I was in high school. So sometimes when I think about it, I'm just like, oh wow, I can't believe I did all this, you know? But but yeah,
Yeah,
like
you're absolutely incredible. Thank you for sharing those tips and the the links.
yes. And any more questions?
Yes, there's another question. It says, if you could redo your application, what would you change and how did you prepare for the interview?
Good question. Okay, so I believe I Google searched like because I really was hoping that someone like leaked the interview questions or something like that. Like I thought there was gonna be like a PDF, you know, a PDF of all the interview questions. But I kid you not, when you're talking to the panelists, they're creating questions on the spot because they're basing it on each application, which makes it unique for each applicant. So you never know what questions they're going to ask, but a lot of it correlates to a lot within your application that you already submit. So that's why I really strongly emphasize to put a lot of information in it, just because, and also know the information in it too, because if they're asking you a question and you don't remember what you put, and especially, I really discourage like I don't know if people I've know people who've done this, but like they have the personal essays written by their parents or something like that. Like, please don't do that because they're gonna ask you questions, and if you don't know your personal essay, you're kind of cooked. Okay, like you're not gonna get you're not gonna be picked. So I know people that didn't got selected because they literally had their parents write their essays. So it was very, and the thing about it is that they know whenever you don't know enough information based on your own application. And just from that, they're able to kind of determine that you're not really a good fit because you don't even know what you're doing. So it's like it's really important to know the information you put in, just because if you don't, then they will know. And then for the other question, where if I would redo my application, I'll be honest, I don't think so. I really think that all my application was really good. Of course, I had it reviewed by my parents and like from other people too. I think a couple of my friends. And yeah, like to answer your question, I don't regret I don't want to I wouldn't redo it because that same application was the one that got accepted. So, it'd be kind of productive a bit.
Absolutely, absolutely. And do I recall, did you do any of our mock interviews that we had for any of our boot camps in Leadership Academy?
Probably once. I just don't remember. It's been a while. I'm getting old, y'all. I don't remember.
Awesome. Well, guys, if you're here, don't forget we do have tools and resources and mock interviews and all the stuff that can also help you
Yes.
just to get some of that
If I am I able to
practice.
share if I'm able to share my LinkedIn or no? I'm not sure if I'm able to.
Um,
Or like any like personal contact. I don't know if anyone
I
wants to reach out, ask questions. I don't know if they want.
Lucy,
I don't know.
let's ask Boss Lady over here, and then let
Boss
me see
lady.
if there's any other questions while we do that.
Yes.
Oh,
To my
there's a
two
lot of. Go ahead.
to my two favorite bosses, Victor, Inez. The answer to that, yes, you can.
Okay. Okay.
Share his LinkedIn. That's fine. No
Okay.
problem.
Okay. I could do it. That's what I was thinking. I was like, yeah, connections, y'all. It's also important to have your
Good.
LinkedIn's. It's also important to have your LinkedIn. I think I bragged about it too during the interview. I don't remember. I think one of the questions was talking about social media, and I made a joke saying like, "Oh, my first social media was LinkedIn." No, 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 no. Like I was being so silly, look, but it was fun though because the person was like, they enjoyed the conversation. Obviously, I'm very easygoing.
Awesome. Yes, you are. You definitely are. And then you have a lot of thank yous and, thank you for being so
Yes, I
humble. Thank you for the
appreciate that.
information.
I see the comments and people are saying like my honesty. Honesty is the best policy, y'all, and it's really important to like emphasize that during the interview process too, because of course people appreciate you being formal, but if you can't take like if you can't take the social cues of them wanting to make it more casual, like it's really important. Like it's good to be kind of like professional casual. Or I don't know if that makes sense, but you get the feeling once they're trying to like I could have sworn that I started making jokes once I realized the interviewist was making jokes too. So I was like, oh, if they're making jokes, I'm gonna make a little joke too. And that's like they start laughing too, And it's like it's very casual but professional at the same time. So it's really important. Oh, also, yeah, you gotta be you. Yeah, exactly. You gotta be you. You gotta be yourself. Don't be scared. Um, One thing I forgot to mention, when you're doing the interview panelists, please look at each person individually, like while you're telling your story. Because a lot of the times I met one person, he said that they were just looking at one person. But keep in mind that each panelist is asking you your own question. They're asking you a question, each panelist. So it's important to, when you're telling your answer, to look each one of them, because the important thing about me, for me at least, is eye contact. I don't want to answer a question and look like this while telling it. Like that's like a terrible way, especially if you're talking down like here too. Like you're not showing your voice, you're not showing your eyes, you're not showing your hand gesture. You got to be yourself and be sure that you're being authentic too. So yeah, 3 second rule, eye contact. Yeah, that kind of works too. Yeah, I think for me, I was just like looking, 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 looking. Like I was just like, that's just me though. Practice on being on camera. Yes, 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 yes. It's really important. Okay, so when it comes to applications, I really recommend you look into the applications as soon as you can because most applications are already opened because they open early October. and they close it at late December. So it's really important, especially if you're wanting to do UT Austin. I think the application is already closed because I remember that I wanted to apply in October and the application for UT Austin was already closed. So, but there's other universities those that you can apply for, like so many more. Like there's still like 13 other universities within Texas you can apply for that you have a high chance. And I don't know if anybody's interested in like in aviation. This is super random, by the way. And I don't know if anyone's interested in aviation, like wanted to be becoming a pilot. But I know that the TWU, like Texas Women University, they have their own aviation program that the Terry Foundation can literally cover all of it. And that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money because it's like 18K for one thing, and then another it would be like 20K. So it's like they cover all of it, you know? So it's really important to like explore each university and find which programs benefits you the most, especially if you already know what you want to pursue in prior to college. Because if you don't, you're limiting your opportunities when you can have bigger opportunities, you know? Hmm.
Absolutely. That's a great random just information
Yeah,
out
yeah,
there.
I know it's super
I
random. I just
love
don't know
it.
what. I just remember so many things. I don't know.
Love that. Well, your time is precious and we know, and time is winding down. And so I would just say, do you have any advice in general for making that next step, going to college and maybe things, to prepare, best advice?
Always be curious and be yourself. That's the best way to put it. I've always think that people who want to pursue something should be passionate about it, but also curious because that curiosity, people love to see that. People love to see your passion and seeing your all these questions that you have to ask. Of course, it can be a little bit annoying, but at the end of the day, they can see that you want to do it really badly. So at the end of the day, like I feel like that's the best thing to give. Be authentic and just be curious. You know, it's hard to say no when you're curious too. So it's fun to do a lot of things.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Victor. We've missed you, and we've been so happy of everything that you're doing. Thank you so much for not wanting to gatekeep any of this information and get the word
Yes,
out and have so many students take advantage. And we really hope that we'll have many more Terry Scholarship recipients in the future. And we wish you the very best. And we're so
yes.
grateful for your time. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes. I better hope that one of the Terrys is one of y'all. Trust. I'm gonna be looking at the names
Yes.
too.
I see some names that have that possibility for sure. And definitely with your tips and the inside help, absolutely.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining us. Again, we will send out the recording. It'll be on our YouTube page. TXCareerandCollegePrep.org has all our socials and all the information. Also, don't forget to join us on Friday at 11:30 for the completion of enrollment month and getting you all the tips and checklists and all the inside information on making that next step for college. All right, guys, thank you so much and have a great rest of your day.